Hello, this is Ray Mota from ACG, and welcome to this edition of the Hot Seat. Joining me today is Kevin Wollenweber from Cisco. Kevin, thanks for joining the Hot Seat.
Thanks for having me, appreciate it.
Is this the first time, right?
This is the first time, I'm waiting to see what happens.
Oh, good. Well, in the Hot Seat, we like to get started right away. Now, one of the things that was interesting is that in December of last year, Cisco had a major announcement in the routing space, the Cisco 8000. Could you discuss a little bit further about the details of that announcement?
Yeah, definitely, and I'm excited to share because this is a culmination of 5 years of development for us. And so about 5 years ago, we really started to look at the problems that our service providers were going to have and what technologies we would have to invest in to be able to deliver a portfolio of products to meet those needs. And so we looked at everything from silicon to software to system design and power and cooling. And the 8000 is really all of those things combined together in a portfolio of systems that we've delivered to the market.
Right.
And so we build both fixed and modular systems. Mm-hmm. The fixed systems are amazing because you start with a 10.8 terabit one rack unit device. Right. Really the 8201 is focused on dense 400 gig in a one rack unit form factor. And then we have a 2 rack unit version of it, which adds a lot more 100 gig each. So if you're doing 100 gig aggregation with 400 gig uplinks, we'll leverage that device. Right. But we're able to take the same chipset and build very large modular devices as well. Mm. So the first parts of the family that we announced were an 8, a 12, and an 18 slot system. Okay. Each one of those is capable of up to 14.4 terabits per slot. Wow. So you talk about systems from 100 terabits to 260 terabits, all leveraging that same common chip technology and software, which allows us to get to about 4 watts per 100 gig in the fixed boxes and about 11 watts per 100 gig in the modular platform. So much lower cost and much higher power efficiency than anything we've ever built.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Especially the timing with 5G coming about, the capacity there. Now, one of the things that stood out for me was this whole silicon chipset, right? And it seemed like Cisco now has a positioning where you're taking all your chipsets and calling it the Silicon One Chipset family. What makes it interesting or remarkable? What do we need to know about this?
Yeah, so the Silicon One family and the Q100 ASIC, which is the first chip in that family, is what we call a clean sheet architecture. Right. So as we were developing this family of systems, we really wanted to look at silicon and define silicon that was, driving not only what we needed today, but an architecture that we could build an entire portfolio of systems on over the next over the next decade. And so when we look at the chipset, this is really the first routing chipset to break that 10 terabit per second barrier. Right. So it's a 10.8 terabit NPU. So you have the density of a lot of the high-end switching devices, but really it's a router. It has routing functionality. So large buffers, large table sizes, and the ability to build up to 260 terabits in a single system, but with a common building block. And that common building block is a big differentiator for us. And it's different from any system we've ever built. Because when we used to build systems, we'd build a queuing chip and an NPU and a fabric chip, and we kind of build all these different components and put them together. With the level of integration we can get into this device, we can build everything from that one rack unit 10.8 terabit system, but then we can take that chip, put it onto a line card, have it act as the NPU on the line card, and then take that exact same chip and put it on the fabric card and have it act as the fabric to connect everything together. So you get consistency from the small systems up to the very large systems, which is something our customers are asking for.
Yeah, it's interesting because it sounds like this is more than just about capacity, right? But as you move forward, a lot of customers are concerned about the cost, right? Operational efficiency, trustworthiness. How does this system address some of those points? Yeah,
absolutely. So speeds and feeds and bandwidth are what we do, and we always talk about that. But when we kind of look at the network of the future and where our customers are going, whether it's 5G or just the evolution of consumer and enterprise bandwidth needs, the first thing we wanted to do is design a system that had no compromises on bandwidth. So we didn't want our customers building networks based on the existing bandwidth of devices they had. But if you look at the networks that are being built, these are critical infrastructure for entire countries, for industries, for emergency services. And so we also wanted to take security and operations to a very different level. So when you think about trustworthiness of platforms, we went all the way down to the core of the devices we build, and we put trust modules onto hardware that we program and manage starting from our manufacturing process, so that we can guarantee that the larger devices haven't been tampered with. They have a signature for all the chips and devices on the board, and so we know that it's genuine Cisco hardware. It's the same as it left the factory, and nobody's tampered with it over time.
Right. Yeah.
And then with that anchor in that root of trust, we can then layer software on top that's signed by Cisco, and so we know that it's genuine software, and really focus on the trustworthiness of that device as you build out that critical infrastructure.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah. Now, one of the things about this announcement is that the first thing that a lot of the customers want to know is Cisco has an existing product called the NCS 5500, I think. Yeah. How does the Cisco 8000 compare? How are you positioning the two products, I guess?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because anytime anybody launches something new, they always wonder about where's the rest of the portfolio.
That's right.
And if you think about the networks that we build networks, from mobile networks, service providers, web providers, and so you need all different kinds of equipment, from small to large to medium and everything in between. And so when you think about the 5500 portfolio, it's the fastest growing part of our portfolio, and we have everything from small cell site routers all the way up to greater than 100 terabit 400 gig enabled systems. And so the breadth of that 5500 allows us to actually apply that system to the majority of our customer networks.
Right.
We've done a bunch of TCO modeling, and as very dense 100 gig systems come into play, or even 400 gig starts to ramp, we really think that the Cisco 8000 plays in that high-end 100 gig, 400 gig world, extremely dense systems, no bandwidth constraints in the network. And so the most successful networks we've seen to date actually leverage all of these different systems, and leverage iOS XR as that common kind of building block between the different pieces of hardware.
Yeah, maybe we can close with a two-part question, if you don't mind. Yeah. The first one is the product shipping?
Yep.
And what kind of customer adoption or traction are you getting in the market today?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think generally as vendors, we launch stuff, and you never know when we're launching it, if we're shipping it. And that was the most fun thing for me about this launch was we were already orderable and shipping these products prior to doing the launch. We really thought we had something differentiated, and so we wanted to wait till we had real customers lined up and real trials and equipment going into production. Right. And so from a customer perspective, the most powerful thing for me, if you go back and look at the December launch, was we had 4 of our largest customers on stage, and they were all consuming the technology in a different way. And so whether it was Comcast driving very high density for their video growth, or AT&T consuming the XR software running on white boxes that they want to put into their network. Yeah, it's a different model for us. But then if you kind of transition even more to the 2 large web players that were on stage, you had Facebook talking about the desire to even consume smaller chunks or components from Cisco with some of the silicon that we deliver and optics that we deliver. And then you had Microsoft, who they like to take their own operating system, Sonic, which they've open sourced and they really want to see growing throughout their network, but they want to run it on high-end hardware like the Cisco 8000.
So a lot of flexibility there.
Yeah, the power of already having shipped systems and having real customers on stage telling you what they're doing with the products and explaining the products, to me had a lot more weight than just me at product management telling you what I think you should buy. So that was amazing.
Good. Well, you're officially off the hot seat.
I appreciate it.
Wasn't too bad, right?
It was fun. I'd love to do this again.
Good. Well, with Kevin, this is Ray Mota. Thanks for joining this edition of the Hot Seat.